In quantum physics, a system exists as a blur of all possible outcomes simultaneously. This is the state of superposition, a mathematical web of potential where no single result is yet real. The measurement problem describes what happens next. The instant an observer interacts with that system, the wave of possibility collapses into a single definite reality. The act of looking forces the universe to choose a state. John von Neumann followed this logic to its furthest conclusion. He proved that the physical chain of measurement, the sensors, the wires, the human eye, never actually terminates. The superposition only resolves when it reaches a conscious observer. This suggests that the observer is not an objective outsider looking in. Instead, the mind is an entangled participant, required for quantum possibilities to become classical facts. Modern psychiatry faces a similar crisis of observation. Current clinical methods treat the human mind as a standalone object that can be weighed and measured without the observer influencing the outcome. Standardized intake forms like this one require a patient to step outside their own experience. To answer, they must adopt the perspective of a detached reporter, scoring their own internal life on a fixed numerical scale. This detached self-monitoring destroys the very states it tries to capture. Deep flow, intuitive insight, and embodied knowing are incredibly fragile. They vanish as soon as a person starts trying to measure them from the outside. The diagnostic test creates its own result. By forcing a patient's fluid consciousness into these rigid categories, the clinician causes the mind to collapse into a low-dimensional artifact, a simplified version of a person that fits the form. Both physics and psychiatry ignore the fact that the observer and the observed are part of the same system. In both fields, the way we choose to look determines the reality that appears. Physiologist Denise Noble provided a biological bridge to solve this. His theory of biological relativity moves away from the idea that our genes or our chemistry are the only things that matter. Noble shows causation flows in all directions. Information moves up from cells, but the whole organism sends signals back down, constraining how cells behave. We use chemistry to navigate the world. The state of the whole person dictates what individual molecules do. If the whole organism controls the parts, then we can view consciousness as a top-down field. This field sets the boundary conditions for everything happening in the body. If causation flows from the top down, a symptom is not a localized mechanical failure. It is the net result of a system's potential, minus the specific loads currently pressing on it. This is the capacity equation. C, your visible capacity, is your native potential, Cn, minus current constraints, Cl. Healing happens by removing these constraints. As the Cl block lifts, expressed wellness naturally expands to its full native potential. This shifts the goal of medicine. It becomes an act of liberation, removing the obstacles to a person's pre-existing capacity. To track this, we use the harmonic coefficient, or H. This is a continuous scale that measures the coherence of a person's consciousness field. It replaces static boxes with a moving map of how resonant or fragmented a person feels. Because the field is dynamic, a patient in crisis exists in a superposition of many possible futures. Depending on their environment and support, they can branch toward total dissolution or toward a new, more integrated way of being. Recovery is the ongoing navigation of this branching multiverse. The clinician's job is to influence which of these parallel outcomes becomes the primary reality. In a field-based model, psychiatric medication becomes a temporary modulator. Its purpose is to alter the field's parameters for a short time to prevent total fragmentation. Antipsychotics force the containment parameter into a high, sedated state, instantly crushing the parameter of difference, the psychological novelty the person is experiencing. This chemical suppression collapses the patient's wave function prematurely. It stops the crisis, but halts the organic movement needed to heal. Long-term use of this suppression can freeze a person in an arrested state. They stay safe, but they are prevented from completing the transformation that their mind initiated. Liberation psychiatry views a crisis as a stalled transformation process. Symptoms are the noise of a system trying to reach a higher state of coherence. In the clinical encounter, the meeting becomes a measurement event. The way the clinician listens actively influences how the patient's field collapses. This is the third space, a relational field where the doctor and patient are entangled. Insights in healing emerge here that couldn't be achieved by either person alone. By acknowledging this entanglement, the clinical encounter moves past detached measurement. It becomes a shared effort to actualize the specific branch of the possibility space, where the person's transformation reaches its natural completion.